on with me. So let us start this session. Uh, just tell me that whether you can see my screen or not, because I will be sharing the screen.
Yes, sir. It is
Yes,
visible
sir.
now.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us start with the non-parametric version of the tests. In the pre-launch session, we have talked about the parametric test. More specifically, we have talked about the independent t-test and the pair t-test, as well as for two sample case, we have talked about more than for two samples case, we have talked about the t-test and the pair t-test. And for more than two sample case, we have talked about one factor independent and one factor repeated measure ANOVA. So let us talk with the non-parametric version of those tests now. Now, first of all, we need to understand what does non-parametric mean. So when your data sets are designed in such a way that your data sets reveals counts or classifications or ratings, which are mainly categorical in nature. Categorical means either nominal or ordinal. Then we call it as distribution free test. Why? Because it does not assume any distribution. So when your data set does not follow any distribution, then you have to use the non-parametric tests. And another thing is that please make it a point that when you are dealing with categorical data, say for example nominal or ordinal data, which we call as non-metric data, on those data we actually do the non-parametric tests. So basically in parametric test we are using the raw data, and in non-parametric test we are using the ranks and the order of the ranks. We are actually converting the raw data into ranks from lowest to highest values, and we are ordering the ranks, and on the basis of the order of the ranks we are actually doing the analysis. So please note this, that when you are doing analysis on raw data which may follow distribution, more specifically normal distribution, you use parametric test. And when you are actually converting that raw data into ranks and you are ordering the ranks, and on the basis of the order of the ranks you are doing the analysis, it is called distribution free test, it is called non-parametric test. So basically in case of interval scale or ratio scale data you apply parametric test, and in case of nominal or ordinal data you apply non-parametric tests. And there are some assumptions which I have already discussed in the pre-launch session. If it holds true, then you can apply parametric tests. If those assumptions are violated, then you cannot no more apply parametric tests, but you have to apply non-parametric tests. In such a scenario, if you forcefully apply parametric tests, your result may not be meaningful, it may be inappropriate. And in research we always try to do some meaningful thing, and therefore though we know that parametric tests are more powerful than non-parametric tests, but still in cases where you cannot apply when you cannot apply parametric tests, when your assumptions are violated, then there is no choice but to apply non-parametric tests. And again I repeat, non-parametric tests will be useful only on those variables which are ordinal or nominal in nature. And uh, uh, basically the fact is that uh, you cannot apply non-parametric tests on interval data. And uh, fact is that if you have interval data, or if you have uh, data which are ratio scale data, then you apply parametric tests. And uh, what happens is non-parametric tests you may apply on interval data, but you should be very much sure that the normality assumptions are not met. If normality assumption fails, then you go for non-parametric version. If normality assumption holds, you apply parametric test. So that's why in non-parametric test we call it as distribution free. There is no need to check the distribution, because if it fails, still we can apply non-parametric test. So let us start with various types of non-parametric tests now. We will talk about non-parametric equivalent of t-test, independent and paired t-test. The non-parametric equivalent of independent t-test is the Mann-Whitney u-test, and the non-parametric equivalent of paired t-test is the Wilcoxon sign rank test that we will do now. Already in the pre-launch session we have discussed about, and we have done hands-on on independent t-test and paired t-test. Now we are going to do hands-on on the non-parametric equivalent of the independent t-test, that is the Mann-Whitney u-test, and the non-parametric equivalent of the paired t-test, that is the Wilcoxon sign rank test. So let us start with the Mann-Whitney u-test first for independent samples. I am audible. You are getting my point till now. If you have any queries or clarifications, you may ask me, or otherwise I will proceed. The participants are here with me. You can hear my voice.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Say, when you are, I am repeating those same questions. When you will apply and how you will apply. So, when you will be applying this Mann-Whitney u-test and how you will be applying this Mann-Whitney u-test, we will discuss. So, Mann-Whitney u-test, it is a non-parametric equivalent of the independent sample t-test. It is used when the assumptions of the t-test are not met. The t-test requires interval data and the samples to come from normally distributed populations with equal variances in both groups. This test is most commonly used when the data is ordinal. So it is very clear to you that Mann-Whitney u-test is the non-parametric equivalent of the independent sample t-tests. And when the assumptions of the t-test, that is samples should be randomly drawn from the population, the population should have equal variances, that is homogeneity of variance, and the data should be interval in nature, and the distribution should be normal. If these assumptions does not hold, then you apply the Mann-Whitney u-test. And basically we apply independent t-test on interval data, and in case of ordinal data we apply this Mann-Whitney u-test. So the assumption is that the samples drawn from the population is random, independence within the samples and mutual independence is assumed, ordinal measurement scale is assumed. So the data should be measured in ordinal scale, and the samples are independent in nature. The participants are not same, they are independent of each other, and the sample should be drawn from the population at random. So now let us take a case study to analyze this Mann-Whitney u-test. First of all, I will discuss the case study, then we will go on taking the data set and we will do the hands-on there, how to do that, and we will interpret. The same fashion or the same manner in pre-launch session will be followed in the post-launch session. So let us take the example of this Mann-Whitney u-test case. Say two social clubs were there, the Hilltop Social Club and the Valley Social Club, and they decide to join forces and hire a coach to take them to a Shakespearean play in the nearby city. One of the club secretaries decide to find out how much the members enjoyed the play, so on the coach home asks everyone to rate their enjoyment of the play on a scale of 0 to 100. The members of the Valley Social like to see themselves as very cultured people, so the club secretary predicts that they will rate their enjoyment of the play higher than the members of the Hilltop Social Club. So this is the backdrop, this is the scenario. Say there are two social clubs, one is the Hilltop Social Club and there is a Valley Social Club, and the secretary of both the clubs along with their members, they went to see a Shakespearean play in the city, and the club secretaries they decided to actually determine that how much the members enjoyed after seeing the play, and that enjoyment is rated on a 0 to 100 scale. Now, some members may be giving a higher marks, some members may be giving a lower scale. So it is measured in an ordinal scale. I tell you a point that when you are actually not using the entire scale, maybe you will be using the higher or the lower side, not the middle side. Suppose you are giving a scale of, say, you are using it from 0 to 40 or from 60 to 100. You are not giving any marks between 40 to 60, then you cannot say it as an interval scale. It is an ordinal scale. So most of the time the ordinal scale are not entirely used. Therefore, we may have to apply non-parametric tests. And here the members of the secretary of the clubs, they predict that the Valley Social Club members are much more cultured, and therefore they will enjoy the play much higher than the members of the Hilltop Social Club. So this is the prediction. Now we have to check statistically. So I think you have the data set with you. Just click the data set. You will find the Mann-Whitney data set. Just click that Mann-Whitney data set. You have the data set with you, I think. Just click that. Just open the data set. And when you have opened it, please tell me that you have opened it, then I will proceed. All of you are here. I think you are not sleeping. If you are not sleeping, please interact with me, because post-lunch session is far more complicated because you tend to sleep after your lunch. So please interact with me and prove that you are not sleeping.
Yes, I have opened the data set.
You have opened the data set. Everybody, you have opened the data set.
Yes,
I think.
sir, opened it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So let us now discuss the data set first. You have two set of variables. One is the rating, that is the dependent variable. It is measured in a scale, and the other is the club. You know that there are two clubs. Actually, one is the here. Just try to change it. Okay. Here it should be actually Hilltop Social Club and Valley Social Club. So let us put just check whether what we have seen. Two is the mirrored club. So 2 here will be okay. Let us do one thing. Let us remove this. Let us rename it. Let us put value as 1, and we will put 1 as say Valley Social Club. So 1 will be Valley Social Club. Add it. Next will be 2. We will call it as Hilltop Social Club. Hilltop Social Club. Add it and click OK. Automatically it will change. The reflection you will see here, 1 is the Valley Social Club and 2 is the Hilltop Social Club, and this will be in a nominal scale. So now go to the variable view. You will find here, if you go to view and go to value levels, you will find the change is reflected here. 2 is the Hilltop Social Club and 1 is the Valley Social Club. There are 16 participants or 16 members who have rated the play, the Shakespearean play, and there are 7 members from Hilltop Social Club and 9 members from Valley Social Club. And why you are applying this Mann-Whitney you test? Why? Because you know, you understand that basically this is a rating from 0 to 100 point scale, and since you are not actually using the entire scale, therefore it is ordinal in nature. And when it is ordinal in nature, and when you have two samples here, Hilltop Social Club and Valley Social Club, so you are applying a independent t-test. The members are independent of each other, and since the assumption does not hold, since it is ordinal in nature, and therefore it is distribution free, and therefore you go for non-parametric equivalent of the independent t-test, that is the Mann-Whitney U-test. So the logic is clear. The logic of using Mann-Whitney U-test is clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You are doing with me hands-on. You have opened the data set. Please do it with me. Go to analyze, go to non-parametric test. Go to analyze, go to non-parametric tests, go to legacy dialogues, and this is a two independent sample case. So you need to click two independent sample. Again, I am repeating, go to analyze, go to non-parametric tests, go to legacy dialogues, and within legacy dialogues, you choose two independent sample case. Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You can follow me. So click two independent samples. When you click the two independent sample, you will get this dialog box. And you have to, which is the dependent variable? Rating. So rating should be brought under test variable list box, and club is the grouping variable. To bring it under grouping variable. Club is the independent variable. You have to define the group. Similar fashion, we have two groups. So group 1 and group 2. And we will continue. So you have to define the groups. And please check it under test type. You should check the Mann-Whitney U-test, because we are going to run the Mann-Whitney U-test. So please check please tick or check the Mann-Whitney U-test. When you have done this, you click OK and you will get the output. Just do it along with me, and you check that whether you have got the output or not. If you have got the output, then I will proceed with the interpretation, and if you have not got the output, then I will again repeat the steps. Have you got the output?
Yes, sir.
Everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then we will proceed for the interpretation.
Yes, sir.
The same fashion we will use. See, just first is the rank table. This is the descriptive statistics. And second is the inferential statistic table. So let us first discuss the descriptive statistics, then we will follow it up with the inferential statistics. So here you will find that rating is the dependent variable, and club, there are two clubs. One is the Valley Social Club and the other is Hilltop Social Club. These are the independent variables. And we have 9 members from Valley Social Club and 7 members from Hilltop Social Club. So the total number of members is 16. And if you see the ranking or the score given for the play, you will find that the Valley Social Club has given a much higher rating than the Hilltop Social Club. And therefore the prediction that the Valley Social Club was much more cultured and they should have enjoyed the play much higher or better than the Hilltop Social Club is some true. So it is true in the case of descriptive statistics. We find that the Valley Social Club's rank is much higher than the Hilltop Social Club, and the sum of ranks given by the members is also much higher. Now we have to test this through inferential statistics. We have to check the significance of the result, and when we are checking the significance of the test, we have to apply the test statistics, and you will find here the Mann-Whitney U is 7, and actually asymptotic significance two-tailed is given. It is less than 0.05. Therefore, we reject the null hypothesis. What is the null hypothesis here? That the ratings, there is no difference in the ratings given by the club, and the alternative hypothesis is that there is difference in the ratings given by the club. and since here it is less than 0.05, so we are rejecting the null hypothesis and accepting the alternative hypothesis that there is difference in the ratings of the club. Now, which club is higher? The prediction, we have to convert it, this two-tailed into one-tailed test by dividing it by 2, and you will get 0.0045, which is less than 0.05. So the one-tailed test also, null hypothesis is rejected, alternative hypothesis is accepted, and we will tell that the Valley Social Club ratings is much higher than the Hilltop Social Club. So this is the interpretation. Basically, when in each group, if there are more than 20 members, if the participants are more than 20, then this distribution follows the normal distribution. Therefore, it tends to Z. So therefore, Z is being given. But here we will use the man-width nu. Why? Because both the members of the club is less than 20. It is less than 20. Therefore, we will use man-width nu. If it is more than 20, then we will approximate it with Z. So the interpretation is clear. If you have any doubt regarding the interpretation, you may ask me. Can you follow me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The interpretation is okay. You have any doubt, please ask me, or otherwise we will proceed. Have you got the output?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And the interpretation is okay, clear? If you have any doubt, please ask me, otherwise I will proceed.
Okay, sir. Till now it is clear, sir.
Okay. Now, let us discuss the non-parametric equivalent of paired t-test, or for that matter, repeated measure t-test, which we call as Wilcoxon sign rank test. My screen is visible, I think.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay. It is the non-parametric equivalent of the related t-test and is used when the assumptions of the t-test are not met. As the samples are related, we have matched scores in the two samples. For example, if a group of people rate their wakefulness on a 10-point scale in the morning and again in the afternoon, our two samples are the ratings in the morning and the ratings in the afternoon, with each participant providing a score in each sample. As the samples are matched, the Wilcoxon test produces a different score for each participant, with each person's score in one sample taken from the same person's score in the second sample. So this is very clear to you that actually when we apply this Wilcoxon sign rank test, it is actually the non-parametric equivalent of the paired t-test. So the samples which you are using, the participants in each samples are same, and they are being tested suppose in the morning and in the afternoon. So here actually when the t-test, paired t-test assumptions are not met, then you apply this test which we call as Wilcoxon sign rank test. So the assumption is that the two samples need to be dependent observations of the cases. It assesses for differences between a before and after measurement. So the samples are dependent to each other, and the observations are randomly drawn, and they are independent of each other, and the measurements should be continuous in nature, and the measurement should be in ordinal scale, just like man-width nu. So take the case study here. An interview panel of 10 interviewers was asked to rate the two final candidates on a scale of 1 to 20 in terms of their suitability for a vacant post. Here, is one candidate rated significantly higher than the other by the interviewers? Then you try to find out that there was a interview panel and 10 interviewers were taking interviews for two candidates who have been scrutinized and selected for the final interview, and out of the two candidates one should be given one should be offered the post, and for that 10 interviewers are asking or taking the interview of these two candidates, and these 10 interviewers will be giving marks on a 1 to 20 scale. Now we have to find out that is one candidate rated significantly higher than the other by the interviewers. If it is true, then the person who get the higher score will be getting the job. So we need to test this. Now we need to go to our data set. Just click the Wilcoxon signed dataset. Please open the dataset. When you have opened, just tell me, then I will explain the dataset.
Open, sir.
All of you have opened the dataset?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let us discuss this one. We have two candidates, candidate 1 and candidate 2, and the score is measured in scale. Measurement level is scale, and 10 interviewers are giving marks to two candidates, candidate 1 and candidate 2, in a 20-point scale, and the marks have been recorded. Now, why we will apply this Wilcoxon sign rank test? Because it is the non-parametric equivalent of pair t-test. What is the pair t-test about? Pair t-test means that the same interviewers are interviewing the two candidates. So it is the participants are it is a repeated measure case. They are dependent to each other, and since the assumption of normality as well as homogeneity of variance, as well as it is not measured in basically it is a 0 to 20 scale, means it is ordinal in nature. Therefore you are applying the non-parametric equivalent of the pair t-test. So that is nothing but the Wilcoxon sign rank test. So we need to go to analyze, we need to go to non-parametric legacy dialogues. This is a two related sample case. Why? Because it is a repeated measure related. So we go to two related samples. I think you are able to follow me. If I am going fast, please tell me. Or if the speed is okay, then I will continue with the speed. I think I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So can you follow me? You're doing along with me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just go to analyze, go to non-parametric tests, go to legacy dialogues. Within legacy dialogues, you will find two related samples. Why? Because this is a related sample case and this is a two sample case. Therefore, we select two related samples and you will get this dialog box. Now you select the two variables at a time by clicking Control and put it in the right hand test pair box. And under test type, you have to select this Wilcoxon because we are running the Wilcoxon sign rank test. So it is a Wilcoxon one. So please tick this. Have you done this?
Yes, sir.
Now, just to let you know that there are two buttons, exact and options, but we do not use this in case of non-parametric tests. Why? Because I'm explaining it. Say, if you click the options, you will find the descriptive statistics. Now, you need to understand that when you apply descriptive statistics on raw data, in case of parametric tests, descriptive statistics have a very vital role to play because we understand the data, we understand the summary of the data with the help of mean, median, mode, standard deviation. But when you are applying ordinal data, when you are applying ordinal data, means you are applying rank data, not raw data, then you can apply this descriptive statistics, but it may not be meaningful because it will give inaccurate results. So that's why we avoid using descriptive statistics in case of non-parametric tests. So we don't use these buttons. We just click the Wilcoxon sign and we will click OK and we will get the result. Now we will interpret the result. Tell me that whether you have got the output or not.
Yes, sir.
Ajay, one thing you tell me that why we don't use the descriptive statistics in case of non-parametric tests. That explanation is clear to you? The explanation that I have given for the for why we avoid descriptive statistics in case of non-parametric one, that is clear, or I will repeat once more.
No, sir. Repeat only.
Don't feel shy. I am.
Sir, please repeat. Sir, please repeat.
So you should ask me. Na, I am repeating 10 times that whether you understand or not. This is not a school level teaching. This is the highest level teaching. You are doing PhD or you are a professor. You are doing research work. This is the highest level. Don't feel shy. If you don't understand anything, if you want me to repeat, please speak it up. This is not a school level teaching. So just try to understand this, that when you are applying parametric test, the data which you are using in case of parametric test is raw data. Means you try to understand the raw data with the help of descriptive statistics. Say for example, mean, median, mode, standard deviation. Then you need to summarize the data with the help of the descriptive statistics. In case of non-parametric test, since it is not metric data, it is ordinal data. So ordinal data, when applying descriptive text, when you are using mean, median, mode on ordinal data, it is not meaningful. It does not give any meaning. Why? Because it is not interval in nature. So in order to avoid inaccurate description of the data, we avoid the descriptive statistics in case of non-parametric tests. But we use descriptive statistics in case of parametric tests. That is the explanation. Why? Because in ordinal data, we are doing ranks. We are ordering those ranks. So mean, median, mode on these ranks is not meaningful. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now check the Wilcoxon sign rank result. If you see the rank table here, just be very attentive because the explanation, you need to understand it in proper perspective. Here, see the ranks given on the basis of difference between candidate 2 and candidate 1. Means candidate 2 minus candidate 1. How many negative ranks? 7. Candidate 2 minus candidate 1, positive ranks. How many? 2? 2. Tied ranks is 1. Total is 10. Now, if there is tied ranks, it does not have any meaning. Why? Because the interviewer given same number to both A and B. So both candidate 1 and candidate 2. So tie rank does not have any meaning. And in case of non-parametric test, if the ties are more, then it will give inaccurate result. The lesser number of ties, the more meaningful the result. So out of 10 interviewers, 1 have given tie. Therefore, the n sample size comes to 9. 10 minus 1, 9. Now, out of these 9 ranks, you will find 7 negative, 2 positive. Why negative? Candidate 2 minus candidate 1. So, candidate 2 minus candidate 1 negative rank means that 7 interviewers has given more marks to candidate 1 and less marks to candidate 2. Therefore, it is a negative rank. Negative means candidate 2 minus candidate 1. Negative means candidate 1 is getting higher marks than candidate 2. 7 out of the 10 interviewers have given higher marks to candidate 1 than candidate 2. And positive ranks means 2 means 2 interviewer has given more marks to candidate 2 than candidate 1. So just by seeing this and seeing the mean rank, you will find that candidate 1 has scored much higher than candidate 2. And some of the ranks also signifies that. Some of the ranks is much higher for candidate 1 than candidate 2. So from this table, this descriptive statistic table, we can understand that candidate 1 have fared much better than candidate 2. Now, this should be significance of this result should be tested with the help of test statistic. And here, Wilcoxon sign rank test actually approximates Z test. Therefore, in case of Wilcoxon sign, you will find the Z standard score has been given. And if you see the asymptotic significance two-tail, you will find it is 0.028, means it is less than 0.05, means the null hypothesis is rejected. What is the null hypothesis here? That there is no difference in the ratings for the candidates. And the alternative hypothesis, there is difference in the ratings of the candidate. And since it is less than 0.05, we are rejecting the null hypothesis. So we are accepting the alternative hypothesis, that is, there is difference in the ratings given to the candidates. And this is a two-tailed result. If you convert it into a one-tailed by dividing it by 2, then again you will get it is less than 0.05. Therefore, one-tailed test hypothesis also rejects null hypothesis, and therefore alternative hypothesis is accepted. Then you are in a position to say that it is statistically significant that candidate 1 have fared much better than candidate 2, and therefore candidate 1 should be offered the job. So this explanation, this interpretation is okay or not? If you have any doubt, you may ask me, I will repeat.
Yes.
This is okay?
Okay.
Okay, sir. It's okay.
Any doubt, any participant, please feel free to ask me. Don't hesitate, don't feel shy.
Sir, asymptotic significance and p-value both the same.
Yeah, asymptotic significance means actually asymptotic significance means you are actually you are predicting the significance. Okay, asymptotic means you are predicting it, and exact significance means the exact figure. So here asymptotic significance two-tailed means that p-value only. Okay, the two-tailed p-value, and if you need to convert it into one-tailed, you have to divide it by 2. Same thing.
Yes, sir. I got it.
So I think till now it is okay with you that we have actually dealt with the non-parametric equivalent of the t-test, that is 2 sample case, one for independent t-test. The non-parametric equivalent of independent t-test is the Mann-Whitney test, and we have dealt with the non-parametric equivalent of the paired t-test, that is the Wilcoxon sign rank test. I think t-test is over, the non-parametric part. If you have any doubt, just ask me, or otherwise we will proceed towards the non-parametric equivalent of the one-factor ANOVA. Shunandana, you are here? It is okay with you?
Yes, sir.
Achha. Krishna, it is okay?
Yes, sir.
Till now, you have got the explanations and how to do it. It is okay with you?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Rajiv, Rajiv Bora, you are here with me?
Yes.
You understand these things in proper perspective?
Yes,
Ashish,
Yes, sir.
Borun,
Yes, sir. Till now it is okay, sir.
Shubhajit.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Okay, okay, thank you. Then we will take a 2 minutes drink break, and we will come up. Will be starting the non-parametric equivalent of one-way ANOVA after this 2 minute drinks break. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Are you here? We will start.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can start.
Okay. So after the break, let us start. Now we will be dealing with the non-parametric equivalent of the one-factor ANOVA. In the pre-lunch session, you know that we have dealt with one-factor ANOVA, that is the independent measure ANOVA and the repeated measure ANOVA. And now we are going to discuss the non-parametric equivalent of those one-factor independent measure and one-factor repeated measure ANOVA. And the one-factor independent measures non-parametric equivalent is the Kruskal-Wallis test, and the one-factor repeated measures ANOVA non-parametric equivalent is the Friedman test. So let us now deal with this Kruskal-Wallis and Friedman test. And you know that basically as a researcher, we always try to use parametric tests rather than non-parametric tests. Why? Because we know that parametric test is much more powerful, and we can calculate the descriptive statistics, that is the mean and standard deviation, which are very meaningful. We can summarize the data. And when in case of interval data, we always apply parametric tests. And suppose you have a ordinal data, but you are very confident that you have used the entire scale, and though you have used the ordinal scale, but your data is interval in nature, and you have used the entire scale. If you are so confident, then you can apply the parametric test. But if you are not confident, and if you feel that you have not used the entire scale in non-parametric version, then in case of ordinal data, if you have not used the entire scale, then it is very safe to use non-parametric tests. And in case of one-factor ANOVA, that is in case where you have more than 2 samples, or in case of independent variable having more than 2 conditions, and then you apply the one-factor ANOVA. But here, if the assumptions of the ANOVA is not true, if the assumption fails, then you have no other option but to apply the Kruskal-Wallis test. And now we will talk about those Kruskal-Wallis tests, and we take an example here, the case study here, through which we will try to analyze the Kruskal-Wallis test. So I think everybody is with me. You are here? You can tell me? I am audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So let us now take this example. See here, a group of 18 people who found it hard to relax agreed to take part in a test of 3 relaxation techniques: a pill to aid restfulness, hypnosis, and exercise. After a week of employing the technique, the participants were asked to rate their ability to relax on a 50-point scale. 0 to 50 scale: 0 much worse, 25 no change, and 50 much better than before. 6 people tried the pill method, 5 used hypnosis, and 7 tried exercise. The question is that, the hypothesis is that, is there an effect of relaxation method on their ratings? So the null hypothesis will be there is no effect of relaxation method on the ratings, and the alternative hypothesis will be there will be an effect of relaxation method on the ratings. So we understand that a group of 18 people or 18 participants are there, and they were being asked to take the help of relaxation techniques so that they can relax, and 3 techniques has been used on them. One is the pill, that is the medicine, second is the hypnosis, and third is the exercise method. And after a week of employing these relaxation techniques, a 50-point scale measurement has been taking place to rate their ability, and 6 participants took medicine, 5 participants took hypnosis, and 7 participants took exercise. Total there were 18 participants, and on the basis of their rating we will be able to judge that whether there is an effect of relaxation method on the ratings or not. So now we go to analyze the data set. I have already given you the data. You will find the Kruskal-Wallis data set here. You just click it and you will get the data set. When you have opened the data set, this tell me, then I will proceed with the analysis. Have you opened the data set?
Yes, sir.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here you will find that the relax or the relaxation is the dependent variable, and it depends on the group, that is what relaxation technique has been used, that is the independent variable. We know that there are 3 conditions. 1 we mentioned for pill or medicine, 2 for hypnosis, and 3 for exercise. You know how to put the values here. Value 1 level pill, add, again 2 hypnosis, add, 3 exercise, add, and you will get this by clicking OK. And you know that this is a group, so it will be nominal in nature, so we are measuring in nominal scale here, and the relaxation rating will be in scale. Now if you see here, you will find 18 participants are there, so 18 row. First 6 have been given medicines, next 5 have been given hypnosis, and the last 7 has been given exercise, so total 18. And in a 0 to 50 point scale, the relaxation ability has been measured. And since this is an ordinal scale, the entire scale has not been used, therefore we will be going for a non-parametric equivalent of the 1-factor independent ANOVA. Why independent ANOVA? Because this is more than 2 samples, there are 3 conditions, and not only that, the participants are independent of each other. Therefore it is a case of 1-factor independent ANOVA, but since it is ordinal in nature, where we are going for non-parametric equivalent. So go to analyze, go to non-parametric, go to legacy dialogues. This is more than 2 samples, that is K independent sample case. So click K independent samples. Can you follow me?
Yes, sir.
Again, I repeat, go to analyze, go to non-parametric tests, go to legacy dialogues, and choose K independent samples. Just click this. You will get the dialog box. Now put the dependent variable, that is the relax, under test variable list box, and group under grouping variable. Define range. We have 3 groups, so minimum will be 1 and maximum will be 3. Continue. It has been defined. Now click the Kruskal-Wallis H. H is the statistic of Kruskal-Wallis, and we click it here, and you will click OK. We will not use exact and options. The explanation I have already given, that descriptive statistics for non-parametric test is not meaningful. So click OK. You will get the output. Now tell me that you have got the output or not.
Yes, sir.
All the participants, you are here with me. Can you follow me? You are getting the output?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Now let us start explaining this Kruskal-Wallis output. You see here that relax is the dependent variable and the techniques is the independent variable. The independent variable is 3 conditions are there: pill, that is medicine, hypnosis, and exercise. 6 members have took pill, 5 members have took hypnosis, 7 members have took exercise, total 18 members are there. And if you see the mean rank, you will find the exercise has got higher rank than hypnosis. Pill has got the least rank. So we may say that exercise is the most appropriate and meaningful technique for relaxation. And this will be statistically tested with the help of the test statistics. We will check the significance of the test. And when you test the test statistic here, Kruskal-Wallis H is approximated to chi-square. Generally, Kruskal-Wallis test approximates chi-square distribution. That's why chi-square value has been given, that is 13.62. And if you check the asymptotic significance, you will get 0.001, that is less than 0.01, or not only that, less than 0.05. Therefore, we reject the null hypothesis and we accept the alternative hypothesis. What was the hypothesis? That there is difference in the ratings. Now, since there is difference in the ratings of the relaxation techniques, we statistically it is significant that there is difference in the ratings. Now, which rating is better, that we have to apply by going for a one-tail test. If you divide it by 2, you will get the one-tail test, and that will also you will get the null hypothesis rejected. Then you will be in a position to say that exercise is the most fruitful technique for relaxation. It is better than the other two techniques. So I think the interpretation is clear and okay. If you have any doubt, you may ask me. I am audible. You can hear me. You can see my screen. You are not speaking.
Yes, sir, we can see.
You can see, but you can understand.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You have any doubt? Otherwise, I will proceed.
You can proceed, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Now we come to the non-parametric equivalent of one factor repeated measure ANOVA. Now you understand that one factor ANOVA means there is one independent variable with more than two conditions, and it is a repeated measure. Why? Because the participants are same in all the samples. Now when you apply the non-parametric one, when the parametric assumptions fails, if any of the parametric assumption fails, say it is not normally distributed, or homogeneity of variance assumption fails, or it is not a randomly selected, randomly drawn, or it is in ordinal in nature, it is not interval, then we apply this non-parametric equivalent of one factor repeated measure ANOVA. That is nothing but the Friedman test. Now take this case study. 10 people stay at a hotel where they eat all their meals. On one day, they asked to rate the quality of food for the 3 meals, breakfast, lunch and dinner, on a scale of 0 to 100. 0 means bad, 100 means good. Is there a significant difference between the 3 meals in their rated quality? So we understand that 10 people, they are staying in a hotel for a week, say, and they are taking the meals there. They are taking breakfast, lunch and dinner, and the hotel owner or the manager of the hotel wants to check that whether what is the quality of the 3 meals that is being offered, and for that they have asked for a rating for the 10 people, and they have given a 0 to 100 point scale, and they have asked to rate the quality of the meals served in breakfast, lunch and dinner. Now they want to test that whether there is significant difference between the quality of the meals or not. So this is the case. Now we need to check this with the help of the data set. So let us go to the data set and click the Friedman data. You have the Friedman data set with you, Friedman file. Just click it and you will open the data set. When you have opened the data set, tell me, then I will proceed. Have you opened the data set?
Yes, sir.
So now you find that there are 3 meals, breakfast, lunch and dinner, and therefore we need to check the quality of the 3 meals, and there are 10 participants or 10 visitors in the hotel who have been asked for to rate the breakfast, lunch and dinner in a 0 to 100 scale, and they have given the ratings here, and you will find that the entire scale has not been used. Supposedly they cannot use the entire scale from 0 to 100, therefore it is ordinal in nature. And since it is more than 2, the conditions is more than 2, it is a 3 sample case and the participants are same. So therefore we apply one factor ANOVA's non-parametric equivalent, that is the Friedman test. If it would have been in interval data, we can apply one factor repeated measure ANOVA, but since it is ordinal in nature, we have to apply the non-parametric equivalent, that is the Friedman test. So go to analyze, go to non-parametric test, go to legacy dialogues, you will find K related samples. Since it is a repeated measure, related sample case, and it is more than 2, therefore K related samples should be chosen. So again I repeat, go to analyze, go to non-parametric test, go to legacy dialogues and click the K related samples. So can you follow me?
Yes, sir.
Just click this, you will get the dialog box. Now just select the control key and select all and put in the right hand box, that is test variable box, and click the test type Friedman because you are using the Friedman test, so click it. And again I am repeating that you no need to use these buttons, just click OK and you will get the output. Have you got the output?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now we need to interpret this output. Check here that the mean rank given for the 3 meals, breakfast, lunch and dinner. Breakfast 1.50, lunch 2.70, dinner 1.80. So it is very clear from the mean ranks that the lunch meal is much of higher quality than the other 2. Lunch followed by dinner followed by breakfast. So the best quality meal is being served during lunch, and we need to check this statistically, whether it is statistically significant or not. Therefore we will be applying the inferential statistics, and we know that the sample size is 10, and the Friedman test also follows chi-square distribution. That why chi-square test statistic result 7.800 is given, and the asymptotic significance you find is 0.020, which is less than 0.05. Therefore null hypothesis is rejected. So there is difference in the quality of meals. So now again, if you want to check the two-tailed hypothesis, you want to convert it into a one-tailed hypothesis. In two-tailed hypothesis, you can only say that null hypothesis is rejected and alternative hypothesis accepted, that there is difference in the quality of meals. But which quality meal is statistically significant, which is higher than the other, you need to convert it into one-tail test. And for that, you need to divide it by 2. And if you will find that the null hypothesis is rejected, and therefore you will be able to say that the among the quality of the meal served, lunch is far better than the others, or the lunch meal is of higher quality than others. So I think I made it clear. Still, if you have any doubt regarding the interpretation or how to run the Friedman test, you may ask me. I think I am audible and you are not sleeping. You are here with me, doing along with
Yes,
me.
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it is clear till now?
Yes, sir.
All of you are clear? Rajiv, Krishna, Shubhojit,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Shunandana, you are here?
Yes, sir.
It is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, thank you. Now, see that basically you need to understand when to apply the non-parametric tests, and you cannot forcefully apply parametric tests. You have to check the assumptions, whether the assumption holds true or not. If the assumption holds true, you go for parametric tests. If the assumption does not hold true, if the assumption fails, you need to apply non-parametric tests. But most of the researchers, very often, they forcefully apply parametric tests without knowing that there are much scope of applying non-parametric tests as well. So you need to understand when to apply parametric, when to apply non-parametric, what are the assumptions, whether it holds true or not, whether your data, what data you are measuring, whether it is in interval or ratio or ordinal or nominal. These things is very important in research. Otherwise, you will get PhD and you will do research, but it will be meaningless. So in order to make the research meaningful, in order to make the research ethical, in order to make the research accurate, you need to understand these statistics. You need to understand in proper manner, because nowadays empirical research, this is holding a prime importance. So you need to understand this, and therefore we need to basically in social science we use multivariate analysis more often, and basically in most of the research you will find that the application of t-test and ANOVA is there. And another non-parametric equivalent non-parametric test which is very popular is chi-square. You will find the application of chi-square. Why? Because when you have count data or frequency data, you need to apply chi-square on those data. Now we will focus on chi-square, and we will finish today's session with discussing the chi-square. So let us now discuss the chi-square one, which will be much useful for you in research, because most of the social science research we use chi-square very often. I think my screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let us discuss chi-square. There are two forms of chi-square. One is the goodness of fit test. The other is the test of independence. The data set already been given to you. Now, basically, chi-square, designated by the symbol chi-square, is a very popular non-parametric statistical test that is appropriate when data are in the form of frequency counts or percentages or proportions that can be covered to frequencies. Chi-square is appropriate for nominal or ordinal data and can be used to compare frequencies occurring in categories. So basically, one thing is very important is that now when you have data which is nominal or ordinal in nature, and more so your data is in frequencies, it is in counts or percentage or proportion, then you have a frequency data, and you need to apply chi-square on this frequency data, because you cannot apply any other tests. On frequency data, you can only apply chi-square. So when your data is in frequencies, then you apply this chi-square, and there are two version or forms of chi-square. One is the goodness of fit test, and the other is test of independence. These two I will cover with two data sets. So let us start with the goodness of fit test. We use goodness of fit approach when we wish to determine if the observed counts, percentages or proportions match some expected values. So there is observed frequency and there is expected frequency. Now you have to match. You have to determine the matching of this observed as well as expected frequency. And in order to do that, we use this goodness of fit test. Now, take this case study that will help us to understand the goodness of fit chi-square test in proper perspective. Say here an experimenter set out to test whether there is a difference in people's color preference for cars. 100 participants were given 4 pictures of cars identical but for the color and asked to state their preference. The color presented were red, blue, black and white. If there was no preference, then we would expect each color to be chosen equal. So we would expect the probability of each category chosen to be a quarter, that is P is equal to 0.25 when the null hypothesis is true. When a total of say n sample size is 100 participants, we would expect each category to be chosen n into p participant, that is 100 into 0.25, that is 25 participants each for red, blue, black and white. On performing the experiment, the researcher finds 48 participants chose the red color, 15 blue, 10 black and 27 white. Do these observed frequencies differ significantly from the expected frequencies? So what was expected and what was observed? Expected was that there will be no preference, equally it will be chosen, that is 4 colors, red, blue, black and white, 100 participants will choose equally. Therefore, for each color, there will be 25 participants. Now, actually, when the test was run, the researcher finds that 48 participants out of 100 chose the red color, 15 participants out of 100 choose the blue color, 10 choose black color and 27 choose white. Now we have to determine we have to match the observed frequencies with the expected frequency, and we have to check that whether they are statistically different or not, whether what is the significance. That is the goodness of fit test. Now in order to do this, we need to go to our data set. I think you have the data set with you, which is called chi-square goodness of fit test. So just click this chi-square goodness of fit test and you will open the data. When you have opened the data, just tell me, then I will proceed.
Opened it, sir.
Okay. Now check the data set here. We have 2 variables. One is the color, the other is the frequencies. Color is nominal in nature. You have 4 color. So go to values and you will find the 4 values we have given. 1 for red, 2 for blue, 3 for black and 4 for white. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. This is clear, I think. Frequencies, it is measured in scale. So if you go to the data view, you will find 2 columns. One is color, the other is frequencies. Color is 4 colors. If you go to view and if you click value levels, you will find 1, 2, 3, 4. Since this is a toggle key, you will get to know which color it is. And frequencies, that 48 chose red, 15 chose blue, 10 chose black and 27 chose white. Now when you are typing these frequencies, one thing you need to understand before typing the frequency, you have to go to data. Just be very attentive. Try to understand that when you are typing the frequency data, you have to go to data first and choose these weight cases. You have to, again I repeat, go to data and choose weight cases. When you have choose weight cases, dialog box will come and you need to choose this frequency and you need to actually send these frequencies to frequency variable box. This thing you need to do. Weight cases by, you have to bring the frequencies data under frequency variable box and then you click OK. When you have click OK, then you will find that in the right hand extreme corner in the data set, you will get a weight on. Weight on means weight cases by is on. If this weight on is not active, then you cannot use the frequency data for chi-square. You cannot use the chi-square test. You have to make these frequency data. You have to click this weight on, and weight on is being active by going to data, weight cases by, and you have to bring the frequencies under this weight cases by frequency variable box. Only if you can do this, then only this weight on will be active, and when weight on will active, you can run the chi-square test, otherwise not. This is clear or not?
Yes, sir, it is clear.
So don't forget to active this weight on. You have to go to data and weight cases by. If you do this, only you can run the chi-square, otherwise not. Now we will go for the analysis. How we will go? Go to analyze, go to non-parametric. Why? Because chi-square is a non-parametric test, and you will find under like legacy dialog this chi-square. So go to analyze, go to non-parametric test, go to legacy dialogs, and you will get the chi-square. Have you got this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, got this.
Just click this chi-square. You will get this dialog box. Have you got this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now you have to bring this color under test variable list box. Okay. And frequencies already it is active because our expected values, all categories are equal. We have found our expectation was that all the colors will be equally chosen, that is p is equal to 0.25. Therefore we will choose the all categories equal. If it would have not been equal, then we have to put values. Suppose we want, say, we want that red will be 30%, so we will put 0.30 and add. Suppose blue is 20%, then we will put 0.20 and add. Like this we will do. But since our all categories are equal, we have assumed that all the colors will be equally chosen, so we will choose all categories equal. And what we do, we just click the OK button. See, you will get the test result. You will get the output. Now we need to interpret the output. Have you got the output?
Got
Yes,
it,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Got it, sir.
Okay. Now check. First is the descriptive box, that is the color box here. You will find that there are 4 colors: red, blue, black, and white. And initially the expected frequency or the expected sample size was 25 each, so 100. But observed frequency was different: 48, 15, 10, and 27. So we have initially thought that 25 participants will choose red color, but we found that 48 chose red color, so 23 plus. Again, we found 25 expected blue color. We got 15, actually observed 15 blue, so 10 negative. Again, 25 we thought about black, but chosen 10, so 15 negative. 25 we thought that we would choose white, but 27, so plus 2. So this is our finding, initial finding. Now this is statistically significant or not, that we will check with the help of the test statistic chi-square. And chi-square value 34.320 is given, and asymptotic significance you see 0.000. What does this mean? It is less than 0.05. So the expected frequency and the observed frequency, there is high difference between the expected and the observed frequency. In a original null hypothesis was that there is no expected difference between there is no difference between expected and observed frequency. But the alternative hypothesis is that there is a difference in expected and observed frequency, and it is statistically significant that there is difference between observed and expected frequency. Is clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any doubt you may ask me, or otherwise I will proceed for test of independence. I will proceed.
You may proceed, sir.
Okay. My screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Visible, sir.
Okay. Now let us discuss the last topic for today's session, that is chi-square test of independence. Now, the chi-square test of independence is a non-parametric test designed to determine whether two categorical variables are independent or related. The term independence derives from the fact that when using this chi-square test, the null hypothesis states that the variables are independent of each other. The two categorical variables are independent of each other. That is, they are not related. This test is designed to be used with data that are expressed as frequencies. The discrete data to be analyzed, that is, the observations, are placed in a contingency table and the expected values are calculated. A contingency table is an arrangement in which a set of objects are classified according to two criteria of classification, one criteria entered in row, the other in columns. A contingency table may have more than 2 columns and more than 2 rows. So this is very clear that now we are going to apply this test of independence chi-square test. Basically, this is a non-parametric test which is applied in case of two categorical variables. Now, these two categorical variables should be independent, and when we try to check that whether they are independent or not, whether they are related or not, we actually use this chi-square test of independence, and we will actually use a contingency table where we will classify these categorical variables into rows and columns. And now let us take the case study in order to understand this test of independence. Now, a researcher had heard that color blindness is related to gender in certain populations. He wished to determine if this were true for a group of individuals for whom he had collected data. Because the sample involves data measured at the nominal level and is concerned only with frequencies, the researcher decided that a chi-square test of independence would be appropriate. Assumptions related to the test are as follows. Observation must be independent and sample size should be relatively large, such that the expected frequencies for each category are at least 1 and the expected frequency are at least 5 for 80% or more of the categories. So you understand here that we are trying to apply the test of independence, and basically it should be applied when you have two categorical data and you want to check that whether they are independent or not, whether they are related or not, whether they are unrelated. So in order to check that, you have to apply this chi-square test of independence test. And basically the observation should be independent of each other, and the sample size for each category should be at least 1, and the expected frequencies should be at least 5. Now basically here what case study has been given, that suppose a researcher wants to understand that whether color blindness is related with gender or not, so for the on a certain population, and he have collected data and he have tried to check that whether color blindness is related with gender or not, and the sample he has collected is measured in a nominal level. This is a frequency data, and therefore we can very easily understand that we have to apply the chi-square test of independence in order to check that whether color blindness and gender are related with each other or not. And therefore we will have to take the help of the data set. So let us go to the data set, and you will find the chi-square test of independence data set in your folder. Just click this and open this data set. When you open the data set, tell me.
Yes, sir. Open it.
Open.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now check. There are actually two variables. One is gender, the other is eye, that is color blindness. And number is nothing but the frequencies. So you, in order to first you have to complete the variable view. So you have to numerically put the gender here. That is 1 is equal to males, 2 is equal to females. 1 label male, add. 2 value label females, add. You can categorize this gender into SPSS version, that SPSS understand numerics, so you convert it into numerics, 1 for male and 2 for females. Similarly for eye, you convert it into numerics, 1 for colorblind and 2 for not colorblind. So 1 label colorblind, add. 2 not colorblind, add, and you will get this. So gender you have to convert into numeric, that is 1 male, 2 female. Similarly eye, that is color blindness, you convert it into 2, 1 colorblind, not 2 not colorblind. And number is nothing but the frequencies, it should be in scale, and gender and eye should be in nominal scale. This is clear?
Yes, sir.
Go to data view. If you click view and value labels, you will find that this is being what this means. Gender means male and female, eye means colorblind and not colorblind. Number is nothing but the frequencies. You can put frequencies here as well. Instead of number, you can in the variable view you can type, instead of number, frequencies. And you know that when you are typing the frequencies, you need to check whether you have chosen the weight on or not. Weight on means you have to go to data, you have to go to weight cases, because you are applying chi-square and you need to apply this. So what you have to do is you put the number of the frequencies under weight cases by frequency variable, and you have to click OK. If you do this, only then in the right hand extreme corner you will get the weight on active button, and you need to activate it, otherwise you cannot apply chi-square. You cannot apply calculation on frequency data. I think this is clear. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
So male, those who are colorblind, 38 number. Male, those who are not colorblind, 442 number. So there are 480 males. Female, colorblind 6 number. Female, not colorblind, 514. So there are 520 females. So all total there are 1000 participants. 480 of them are males, 520 are females, and out of that 480 males, 38 are colorblind and 442 are not colorblind. Similarly, out of 520 females, 6 are colorblind and 514 are not colorblind. So this is the data set. Now you have to apply the chi-square test of independence in order to try to test the hypothesis. What is the hypothesis? The null hypothesis is that colorblindness is independent of gender, and the alternative hypothesis is that colorblindness is not independent of gender. This is clear?
Yes, sir.
Now what you need to do, you go to analyze. Analyze, go to descriptive statistics. Analyze, go to descriptive statistics. Go to cross tabs. Again, I repeat, for chi-square test of independence, you have to go to analyze, descriptive statistics, cross tabs. Click the cross tab button. You will get the cross tab dialog box. This is clear?
Yes, sir.
Now what you need to do? Put gender under rows, put eye under columns. When you have done this, click the statistics button. Put gender under rows, put eye under columns, and click statistics button. Under statistics button, you have to click this chi-square, because we are actually using the chi-square test. So click under statistics button, click chi-square. then continue. Can you follow me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, when you have used the statistics button, now come to sales button. Click the sales button. Now you know that we have to compare the observed and the expected. So click the expected also. Observed and expected, both click it. Then continue. Have you done this?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Click OK and
Yes,
you will
sir.
click OK and you will get the output. Now we need to interpret the output. Have you got the output?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now check it. We have 1000 participants. There are no missing values. 1000 participants have given the test, and we find from the cross tabulation table that see, there were 480 males. Out of that, 38 were colorblind, 442 not colorblind. There were 520 males, 6 were colorblind, 514 not colorblind. So out of 1000 total participants, 444 were colorblind and 956 were not colorblind. And we need to check the hypothesis, that is colorblindness is related with gender or not. Colorblindness is independent of gender and colorblindness is not independent of gender. So what you need to do is you need to check the chi-square test statistics, and here you will check the Pearson chi-square value. You will get the asymptotic to site significance is 0.000, means it is less than 0.05, means null hypothesis is rejected. So what was the alternative hypothesis? Can you tell me what was the alternative hypothesis? We are accepting the alternative hypothesis here. We are rejecting the null hypothesis since it is less than 0.05, and we are accepting the alternative hypothesis. What is the alternative hypothesis? What was the null hypothesis? Color blindness is independent of gender. So what is the alternative hypothesis? Color blindness is not independent of gender. Means color blindness and gender are related. So our alternative hypothesis is accepted, that is color blindness is not independent of gender, means color blindness and gender are related to each other. This is our finding. This is statistically significant finding. This is clear or not?
Yes, sir. Clear.
So if you have any doubt regarding the interpretation, you may ask me. Pearson chi-square we will take into consideration. All other are not necessary. Only Pearson chi-square value we will take. Chi-square means Pearson chi-square. So if you have any doubt regarding the interpretation, ask me, or otherwise we will call it for the day. I think if you understand in proper perspective whatever I have talked about the entire day, the parametric and non-parametric tests, there are particular format of interpretation and format of doing things. If you have understood the format, then you can apply on it on your own. So any doubt or any clarification you need, you may ask me, or otherwise we will sign off for today.